Good evening. I'm just gonna test and see how well this is gonna be doing. I'm just walking at night right now. I know this is gonna be dark. But I just feel like that I really need to put this video out. It's been a while since I made a video. I've been procrastinating a lot, and a lot of it was I was dealing with mental health issues. That's why I basically didn't make a video for the last few months. Basically started around Christmas time. I had to disconnect myself from the world for a bit. And honestly, I didn't really go on for walks either. I didn't go for a walk. I was at that time I was like down like 380, 376 on my weight loss journey. By like mid-February, I was back to 390. Now, in the last few weeks, I started walking again, and I'm down to 378. I honestly, and I know it seems like that, like if you just look at that short period, it might seem like I'm not really further ahead. But comparing to last year, I'm actually a lot ahead. If you've been watching my weight loss journey, where I try to do a video about once a month on that specific topic, I started at 410. But let's go further back. I would say about around like 2018. In that year, I moved to Cardigan. It's like basically like in the western portion of PI, Canada. And at that time, I was 350. And I started a new job at a fish plant. The fish plant goes from May till December. So basically about half of a year. On the first year I was there, I went from 350 to 320. Over the winter, I went from 320 to 380. By the end of the season, I was back down to 350. The following season, I was up to 410. By the end of the season, I was down to 380. And the following years, I was back to 410, which was basically last year. And now, by December, I was down to 376. I stopped walking. So I went back to 390. Now I'm back to 380, 378. So, in one sense, I am actually making progress because technically I am about 30 pounds lighter comparative to last year. And if I am keeping about this weight range, if not below, by May, guess what? I'm in progress. And in that sense, it is a good thing. I'm gonna be as ahead I would like to, but I'm further ahead to compare it to last year. And in many sense, this is exactly the same thing that is happening with my long COVID journey. My long COVID journey, I am still dealing with it. I reached a point of my COVID struggle with long COVID that I'm able to try to find some sort of work. That work is going to be limited, extremely limited, because there's so much I can do before my body collapses, like mentally or physically. It is like I get migraine when I try to use my head to try to drive, to try to write stuff down. Like if I actually, if I actually write stuff down, to actually like really use my head to study and that kind of thing, and actually like pick the text and actually like construct it certain way to make sure that everything makes sense and all that, that creates migraine, that kind of things. The onset of the migraine is delayed compared to last year, but I'm still very much dealing with the migraine. It is still not gone, and I know it's going to take a long time to recover at this rate. And in many ways, my eating habits has vastly improved comparing to the years before. So I'm slowly getting there, and that's a good thing. And next month, when I do my monthly report on my health and my COVID, my health, like physically, all that jazz, weight and all that, I am hoping by that time I finish doing all my research in regards to COVID in general. And I will be presenting arguments, those who are for the vaccine versus what the people who are against the vaccine, lockdown versus non-lockdown, mask versus versus non-mask, all of that. And I will be presenting what is the actual data that is related to that topic. And that's the main thing I've been doing for the last couple months, and like really researching that. And I was really hoping to have it done by now, but it's taking a lot longer than I anticipated. Like I still have some ways to go. I'm getting there, I'm getting there, but I still have some time left. And I'm hoping in 1 more time that is finally done, so I can start doing my next project. That one is going to be more about religious, which I'm not going to be posting on this channel. But it's going to be an extreme deep dive in religious history. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very long deep dive on that. I am hoping that once I have my laptop back, which basically what is happening with that is I am waiting for the guy to receive the parts that they need for my laptop, and I should go check it out sometime soon. What's up with it? Okay, now that I'm done talking about that giving that monthly update, the rest of the video is going to be about the 3 kinds of socialist system, the major kind of system there is, and why I am an anarchist. So, broadly speaking, there is the social democracy, there is the communist, and there is the libertarian socialist or anarchist. Let's dwell the history of socialism and how those 3 major groups emerged. Karl Marx was not the founder of socialism or communism. There were socialists that were before him. And broadly speaking, they were known as the utopian socialist, utopian socialism. These are the people that they recognized that the industrial revolution has happened. And they recognize that capitalism has some problem with it. So they created utopias. And let's define what is utopia and dystopia. A utopia is an idea of a perfect society. There's nothing concrete about it. It's an idea of what the society, what it could be like in a perfect world. You are looking towards it. And everybody would be happy, content, that kind of thing. It's like, you can say a paradise, heaven, that kind of idea. In the media, we might find that kind of topic a utopia society. I only can think about dystopia right now, because the dystopia is far more easy to imagine and far more fun to think about than a utopia. Usually the utopia society is always something dysfunctional in it when you start digging into it, because you have to you cannot not have everything perfect all the time, because that would be a boring storyline. There's a reason why violence sells. Let's see. Why can't I think of anything right now? Oh, I know. The Avatar. No, Avatar. Well, I haven't watched Avatar for the longest time, so that's it. Oh, for crying out loud, why can't I think of any movie right now? And I bet if I actually see it, I would. Oh yeah, that's a utopia right now. But I'm blanking. Oh, for crying out loud! Come on, let's pay. Okay, so there's no those are military stuff. Like I'm thinking about Starship Troopers right now. I'm thinking about aliens. Those has nothing to do with it. Warhammer 40k is definitely not an example of a utopia. Oh, I know. Actually, I can use Warhammer 40k. Oh, cool. That's actually amazing. I actually can use Warhammer 40k to talk about politics. That's amazing. And I kind of wanted to start talking more about Warhammer 40k anyway. And actually, there's a lot of things I can use in that franchise to talk about different concepts in the real world. Okay, for those who doesn't know anything about that franchise, oh, this is going to be absolutely a blast. Okay, long story short, I am not going to get into the nitpick of the entire setting and all of that. What Warhammer 40k stands for is Warhammer 40,000. It is essentially the setting, the sci-fi setting where it takes place 40,000 years down the future, where humanity has become galactic empire. There are demons, there are robots known as Necrons, who are extremely advanced species. Then you have other alien species like the Eldar, where basically the best way to describe it, of the space wizard, the space wizard. Then you have the humanity. The entire setting is considered to be grim dark because there's only war. And it's just everything's to the extreme in that setting. And if you actually it is described that there's millions of worlds that humanity is across the galaxies. It has millions upon millions of worlds under their control. But because of the grim darkness of our future, millions are lost and millions are gained every day. And in each world, there are billions upon billions of people fighting and dying every single day. This setting is taken to the extreme. Then so that's kind of setting, and you have the major factions are the Tau, the Eldar, the Dark Eldar, the humanity, the Orcs, the Chaos, which is basically the Chaos Gods. Basically, like the Immaterium is basically hell, the Sea of Souls, like where you have every living being has a soul, and when you die, it goes through the Sea of Souls. But because of the past, it will become disrupted. You have the Chaos Gods they all worship different things. Well, the worship is different things about it because you have Nurgle, Khorne, Tasmanich, and Slanesh. Like Nurgle is the chaos god of plague and disease. Khorne is murder and bloodshed of honor. Tasmanich is scheming, knowledge, sorcery. And Tasmanich is Slanesh is about pleasure and gender, and like is it because it can be any gender that he chooses. The Eldar, as I said, they are the elves of that setting, and the Dark Eldar is like the twisted version of the Eldar. And then you have the Orcs, which are basically the Orcs, in the Lord of the Rings, that kind of orc. But of course, you have that sci-fi spin because there's something called the war, where the bigger the war, the more powerful they become. And how they get more war when you have more orcs with you. And with the war, they can bend reality to their whim. So if they believe that their gun can shoot ammo, and when it's empty, then the gun will shoot ammo. If they believe that red goes fast, guess what? When you put a coat of paint of red, you go faster because of the war. Yeah, so brief setting. So one of the race called the Eldar. In their peak of their technology, at the peak of their society, they were a utopian society. They have advanced so far in technology that every need they're met is automatically desire given to them. They were they were able, if they die, guess what? Death and life has no meaning because they can just come back to life. They literally had everything for them that they ever been provided. And if they want to terraform a world, they can do it without a second thought. They were at the peak, and everything was going for them. Everything was good. They're happy, but of course, because they were so happy, they wanted more pleasure, which led to all kinds of debauchery, and then they birthed the Chaos God Slanesh because of the debauchery and all that. And that basically damned their entire species to hell, because whenever an Eldar die, they actually be consumed by Slanesh. or to be tormented for all eternity. Yeah. But the idea before, where you have like the period of civilization where everything was provided there, that was utopia. Dystopia is the other end of the spectrum, where and the current setting of Warhammer 40k is a dystopia, because everything is going to shit. There's no hope. There is no everything is harsh, everything is failing. The chaos gods is evading all. Life is short, brutal. Humanity are basically slaves, where they will be in cities, where like a hive city where you have like billions of people in a massive cities, that you can literally look from orbit and you see the top of the city, but it can be at the bottom where there's only like disease, and the only way to survive in that kind of place is to have something called a stark, like this paste, where the dead get all assembled into this like machine, and then you get melted and glued, and then you just eat the remains of those people as a way as a food source to survive. Yeah, that's dystopia. So, going back to Karl Marx. Karl Marx, the socialist envisioned a utopia of what a society could be. Karl Marx comes into the scene. He gets a doctorate in philosophy in Berlin, and he becomes friend with Engels, Friedrich Engels, where he understood the concept of dialectic materialism, and he started to critique a little bit of Engels to kind of twist it to make it his own. And one of the very first things that they did was critiquing utopia socialism. And basically they were saying, what you guys are saying is good, but how do you get there? Because one of the biggest things that they started to bring a concept, and a lot of times people don't understand why the concept of scientific, I forgot the full word right now, but it's like scientific socialism, something along those lines. The biggest problem about science, sure, you can be objective, so you can research it and try to understand it in an unbiased way. However, you still need to use that scientific knowledge and apply it. It is not enough to make theories if those theories doesn't lead anywhere. Which is the very fundamental concept of dialectical materialism. Where you're like, okay, for those who don't understand the concept of dialectics, is you pick two different opposing forces, and you synthesize and basically what's the product of it. And that entire concept is what the Das Kapital is for. It's like really like the fundamental of Marxism. And once you start thinking in that manner, you start understanding what's really, how the society starts to really operate. There are paradoxes that exist. There are things that contradict itself. Just think about a basic concept, and that it will be used like in wage labor. You have worker, and you have business owners. The interest of a worker is dynamically opposed to the interest of the entrepreneur. A worker desire is to get a highest wage as it can possibly have, so they can get a much greater money, they can buy more stuff, all of that. But a entrepreneur, its interest is dynamically opposed to the worker. Why? Because the motive of a business owner is to make profit. They have to maximize profit. If they don't maximize profit, then their business will shut down. And that is which of course it means that their interest is to pay as little as they can to the worker. As a result, in economic story we get there's an equilibrium between wages and labor. There's an equilibrium the result of it, because of the different forces that is at play. And one of those days, like one of my life goals that I really want to do is I want to go into do a doctorate in economics, showing all the economic theories that they use. Karl Marx already predicted all of them. Even though he's been discredited, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yet, if you truly understand what he's talking about, it's right there. The issue is that what Karl Marx demonstrates is an exploitation that occurs. So its critique inspires others. You had Buchanan, for example, he's like the founder of anarchism. Whereas like he agrees with certain critique that Marx has, and he disagrees with the other concept. And the biggest thing that you have between these two forces is the issue of centralization. The First International and the Second International was the main topic that led to split between the Marxists and the anarchists. argue myself, like, and it's all, as I say, all boils down the issue of the state, the centralization of things. And I'm going to get down to that topic more, and I think it's going to be a new part series to get into it, because I'm getting tired, and I don't think I'm going to have enough to really talk about more about what happens as to laying down the foundation. But what is the most important thing is what was these two forces, like the anarchists and Karmas were discussing. Let's talk about the concept of authority. And that's really what it really comes down to. It's like how you determine the legitimacy of an authority. Anarchism don't outright reject authority. And a lot of time, when you read angles on authority, which is essentially a critique to anarchism, where basically Engels goes on to say, I guess to really understand the conflict is you need to understand the debate between individualism and collectivism. It's like negative liberty and positive liberty. That debate is something that is really, really fundamental to understand this debate between each other. So let's define what is negative liberty and positive liberty. Negative liberty, and I think that once I finish describing these forces, I will end my video, part 1, then I'm going to continue on in part 2. So you have negative liberty. It is the concept of the ability to do things without restriction. My favorite way to explain this is the concept of chattel slavery. A chattel slave has a restriction on their freedom because their negative liberty is infringed upon. Meaning, a chattel slave will have chains, their whip, they are doing their freedom. They're not able to do things on their own free will because they are being forced to obey someone else's will against their will. They don't have the freedom to choose what they want. And so that liberty, like the ability to have free speech, is a negative liberty. The ability to criticize your government is a form is negative liberty. Let's talk about the LGBTQ stuff. For their ability to live in a society without being discriminated against, like basically having laws that denies their existence, that is a restriction on their negative liberty. Like their prevention, they are able to be married under the law, is a restriction on their liberty to live as a couple. Yes, if you want to go into the Bible and what's moral and moral based on God's law and all that, that's an entirely different topic. Because we're not talking about what is moral, what is immoral, what is sin, or what is not sin. That is beside the point. The point is, what is the ability for a person to live without a society without persecution? Are they going to be kidnapped, being forced to do things that are against their will, that are a restriction on their negative liberty? Positive liberty is different. It's another form of freedom. Usually, positive liberty comes from laws, things that benefit the society as a whole. One example I like to use are street signs, road laws, lights, speed limit, all of that. Those things are a restriction on negative liberty. But you're organizing the society in such a way that you're trying to increase the freedom to everyone. Because just think about it this way. In the Western world, we really can't grasp this idea. And a while back, I watched a show called The Kanye West Driver. Basically, Kanye West Driver, but the main oh, not the announcer, the person who announced the show, the one who's like, I forget what they're called right now. Usually in a show, you have a bunch of contestants and you have one person that are presenting, talking. Basically, you're mediator between the judge, the contestant, and the party. Kind of like the one who explains the challenges, he explains the rules, he explains what they have to do. That person, I forget what it's called. That person says, and he decided to go on this little show where he's going to driving in the worst cities in the world. I forget what's the name of the show right now because it's been the years. And at one point they went to India. People will be like cutting each other off. They're all jam-packed together. It was purely chaotic. There's no rules. There's no organization. There's nothing that brings order. It was literally like people were like cutting each other off. There's no way like you're on your side of the road or you're on my side of the road. We're going to each other. Okay. Oh, there's a stop. I'm going to stop here, so you can pass it through. I'll go through. They don't have that concept. They literally it's a free for all. Positive liberty would say, this is chaos and we need some sort of order. So we're going to put a stop sign as a way to organize this chaos so that, yes, there's limiting some of your freedom, but it allows you to be on time. It allows you to have greater things in the end. Another common thing to talk about positive liberty would be the concept of healthcare, the concept of lodging, food, providing those things to people. If, for example, you're unable to go to receive healthcare, that is an infringement on your liberty, because if you get sick, like I'm use me for example, like I have long COVID. My freedom is being limited because of my health. I am not able to do things that I used to be able to, like going to work, going to school, that kind of things, because of my illness. So it's really thinking another way of thinking is you think it collectively. What's the collective good? What's the good for the whole society? That is what a Marxist will tend to think about. They will deny the negative liberties of people. And going back and by the way, the concept of individual liberty is something that is very, very fundamental to classic liberalism. The right of life, like John Locke, is basically was the one who credited he has a credit to come out with this phrase: the right of life, liberty, and property. I have no problem with the right of life. I have no problem with the right of liberty. I have an issue with the right of property. Property, the issue with property is that as soon as you have the concept of property, you are artificially creating a concept of scarcity. The easiest way to describe, to demonstrate the issue of the right of property, because as soon as you have this concept, the issue of monopoly will rise up very, very easily. Because wealth is just going naturally to get concentrated into fewer and fewer hands at the expense to the masses. Now to really illustrate that concept, the issue of right of property, it's a concept of land. Earth has so much land. And you cannot exceed that amount of land. It's literally, there's only a set amount of land that exists, and that's it. So let's say that you start an easy figure to really understand. Let's say you have 1,000 acres of land. And there's 1,000 acres, it is divided into 4 people. That's about 250 acres between each person. Great, that's 4 people. But let's get a little bit more. I live in an island, the smallest province in Canada. We can literally drive tip to tip in a couple hours. That's very small. Here's the issue. There's 150,000 people on PEI. But I can guarantee you, not everyone will have equal amount of land. Because you have monopolies who will be buying out land. As you buy more land, smaller amount of land gets into possession to people that can have. Which is going back to my example, 1,000 acres. You have 4 people, great. What if a person dies off, another person slowly takes over the land, and it gets concentrated into one person? A lot of times it's happening in today's world is land gets into a few billionaires. Like, big corporation buys thousands upon thousand acres of lands. They're all under their control. Yes, they might have sub companies that they might be under them, but guess what? Ultimately, they are in charge. They own that land. They control it. They dictate what goes on those lands. They are literally becoming feudal landlords. On a scale that's never been seen before. And you hear a lot of times, but there's millions of new billionaires, and lots of people becomes billionaires or millionaires every year. Okay. I like to show that little statistics out. They would say, like, when you read Forbes and all that kind of like, well, there's like 42 million people who are in the million and billionaire status, as if that number should, globally, across the globe, there are 42 million people who are in the millionaire status. There's this millions of people in that status. You know what they don't tell you is the percentage of that number of people. 0.6% in the total global population. It sounds huge, but when you really think about it, a small number of people have that wealth. And you know what other things where most of those billionaires or millionaires are from? In the imperial core. And the number one countries that has the most amount of millions of billionaires is the US. Another statistics I like to point out, as you have more people on the top that becomes more billionaires or whatnot, there's more people on the bottom that becomes poor. I remember reading some math, some research that was done, where every year the number of people who is becoming more poor, making less than $10,000 a year type of deal. It went from like 20% to like 25%. There's like few percentage of people becoming poorer comparing to other categories. It's like the number of people just increases. Globally, there's only one country in the world in the last 40 years that the reduction of poverty, 90% of the reduction of poverty went to one country in the world, China. They are the one who is actively having more people coming out above the $10,000 mark every year. So like 1% in the population is like millions of people. because they have like 3 billion people in their country. Should they having more and more billionaires in their country? But they are getting overall richer. Going back to what I was saying, about property. This is why I like the Marxist definition of property. Because you have to, under capitalist definition of property, if you own a property as a property, they make no distinction between different kinds of property. Fun fact, people who are pro-capitalism love Adam Smith, even though they bastardize his writing all the bloody time. They pick and choose what they would like, and then ignore the context of where he wrote those things. And one thing he never talks about, Adam Smith talks about 5 different kinds of property. 5. A lot of times, I hear those who are pro-capitalism, the concept of having 2 kinds of property between what's personal versus private is too complicated for them. And imagine if we're talking about 5 different kinds of property. And I can guarantee you, Karl Marx did read it, because all his work, like if you actually read the Das Kapital, his idea is not something he creates by himself. He uses classical liberals' theory. Even the concept of alienation comes from a classical liberal. He just critiqued them by using the dialectical materialism concept. So, private property on a Marxist concept is basically the means of production, the businesses, the capital that the person has to run their business. So if I go to a grocery store, all the food, shelving, all of that, that would be considered private property. Personal property is what you personally own. Your shirt, your toothbrush, your car, your house. I have no problem having personal property. And if you actually look in the New Testament, the one thing you're going to find fascinating, they have no problem with personal property, but they do have problem with private property. Especially when you think about acts, the trading that is taking among Christians. That will be considered the concept of private property. They're being shared collectively among each other. Personal property will be like the perfume that Jesus has, that it was given to him or whatnot. They don't really, that thing doesn't really matter because it's personal. It's the private issue. It is always has been that issue. That is the issue that led to the downfall of classic liberalism. And there's a lot of things, and there's also very, very much hypocritical, the classical liberals at many times, like John Locke, had no problem with slavery. So they had no problem with slavery. He didn't have problem with white supremacy. They didn't have problem to have very few people owning the means of production. All of that, like, it's really like, and this is the problem a lot of times with those who advocate for private property. It's like they're very much hypocritical. And I think I'm going to end this video here. And I am going to pick it up again tomorrow or the next time I go for a walk. Or what? Yeah. My next video is going to be trying to pick it up where I left off. I'm just getting too tired right now. And I should go home. Till the next time, bye for now.